If you just keep pushing something back and replacing the creative team, you never have to actually say that it's canceled. I wonder if anyone in Hollywood has figured that out. Hello, I'm Marvin, and I'm the Movie Monster. The ongoing debacle that is the Rey movie that nobody wants continues as the film has once more been pushed back due to creative team turnover.
Well, how about that?
A while back, we reported news that Stephen Knight, the creator of Peaky Blinders, and the man set to write the Rey movie, was likely not continuing forward with the project. With news that he was working on a Peaky Blinders movie, along with opening up his own studio, it seemed as though he was going to have very little time to dedicate to Kathleen Kennedy's magnum opus. Look it up. Well, it turns out we were right. Knight has officially exited the project according to numerous online sources, which means that Lucasfilm has got to find a writer for this film all over again. That means this abominable Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy directed Drek is going to be pushed back yet again, and at this point, I think what's happening is that this movie is dead in the water. There's no movement on it, but Lucasfilm has to make it look like it's still moving forward. Kathleen Kennedy so desperately wants this to get out there, because if it's a hit, then it'll prove that people didn't actually hate the atrocious Star Wars sequel trilogy.
This is a lie.
Yeah, but they did. They hated it so much. This is the ultimate face-saving maneuver for Kathleen Kennedy's Lucasfilm, or as we like to call it on this channel, the Galactic Empire. Meow, 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 meow. The Fempire took control of Star Wars with one agenda in mind: destroy George Lucas's creation and replace it with a female-driven, diverse rainbow, wrenching Star Wars away from the hands of those this organization and its wretched Femperor deemed problematic. Rey Palpatine, I refuse to call her by the other name, is the face of the Fempire. She's the Mary Sue to end all Mary Sues. She proved in 3 movies that she's a better pilot than Han Solo, despite having never flown and never left the desolate junk planet on which she lived. She's a better Jedi than Luke Skywalker, despite having next to no Jedi training, and a better leader than Leia Organa, despite growing up isolated and alone, developing no people skills or leadership qualities. She's simply the best because she just is. Because Kathleen Kennedy says that she is. Rey got over not alongside our established heroes, but in spite of them. Instead of showing a steady growth over 3 movies in which she eventually rises to the level of our heroes, she's better than our heroes from the get-go.
Ah! Do you see what you get, Carla? Do you see what you get when you mess with the warrior?
On top of that, our heroes were apparently never that heroic to begin with. They're all just old, broken-down, green milk guzzling losers with no direction until this stunning and brave wonder blows into their lives. Imagine a trilogy in which we got to see Rey make mistakes, grow, and learn from our heroes. Imagine seeing her be trained as a Jedi by Luke, taught how to fly by Han Solo, and come into her own as a leader under Leia. She would have earned our love and loyalty.
I don't care.
Instead, she was just shoved in our faces at the expense of our established legacy characters, and the Fempire told us to deal with it. Well, we said no, and we'll continue to say no, even if you give us this god-awful character in another movie. And what are the odds of that happening? Well, we'll find out today on Tooney Town TV. Onward and never upward we go as this Rey movie continues to move toward never actually coming out. I mean, every little bit of information that we get about this movie says that it is dead in the water and it is not going to happen, folks. And that's happening right here. Report: Daisy Ridley and Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy's new Jedi Order screenwriter has exited the Star Wars project. This is an article that comes to us from That Park Place, a website where if you haven't bookmarked it, well, then what are you waiting for, guys? Because all the best news is right there. And this is written by John F. Trent. And then we see Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy, the director who loves to make men uncomfortable. That is her big claim to fame. That is the thing she says she loves about her job. She's a documentary filmmaker who has never manned a big budget movie before, and yet she has been given the keys to the Star Wars galaxy. Why is that, you might ask? Because she checks the right boxes for Kathleen Kennedy and the Galactic Empire. So a new report now claims that Lucasfilm is seeking another new screenwriter for its new Jedi Order film that is expected to star Daisy Ridley and be directed by Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy. Now, expected, John says here, because I'm pretty sure we all know it is very possible that this is never actually going to happen. It is very possible that Daisy Ridley never makes it to this movie. We've heard rumors that it might actually even be an older Rey and that she might have a very little role in it. And it is altogether possible that if it does happen, Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy will not end up being the director. This has gone on in development hell for far too long. And there have been plenty of rumors behind the scenes that she has no idea what she's doing. And they're already talking about ways to kind of move the directing responsibilities off of her. So, we'll have to see. A report from Matt Bellani at Puck claims that Stephen Knight, who had been tapped to write the film after Damon Lindelof and Justin Britt Gibson were dumped from the project, quote, is off the new Jedi Order film project. So that would make another creative team turnover that's going to push this movie back. Bellani added, Lucasfilm is now hunting for a new writer on New Jedi Order, which almost certainly means that the film will not be ready by December 2026, the date Disney has staked out for the Star Wars release. Oh boy. December 2026, that was never going to happen, guys. I mean, there's no forward motion on here. Daisy Ridley was saying recently she's never seen a script, and we know why, because apparently Stephen Knight kept turning in scripts, and Kathleen Kennedy kept sending them back with story notes. So take that, everyone who says that Kathleen Kennedy is not involved in it any way, shape, or form with the actual story of these movies, because she absolutely is. The report comes following Daisy Ridley claiming that things are evolving with the film during a screening for her recent film, Magpie. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't mock Daisy's voice. I actually like Daisy Ridley. I think she's a pretty good actress. I've enjoyed her in other things. I even enjoyed her in The Force Awakens for the most part. It's just this character, man. This character is the worst. She added, I continue to be very excited. There will be an update soon. Yes, an update saying that this movie is never actually happening, or just saying over and over again that they're pushing it back again and again and again until it actually just never comes out and you forget about it. Or Kathleen Kennedy leaves. Let's hope that's the thing that happens sooner rather than later. But I am done getting my hopes up about that, guys. As far as Knight being off the project, this is not surprising. Back in September, Scooper and entertainment analyst WW Pro speculated that Knight had moved on, given that he announced he had plans to open a studio in Los Angeles to film a Peaky Blinders movie and other Peaky Blinders projects. So Knight told the BBC, quote, I'm going to open a Dig Back Lock studio here where people can go look at what we're doing, see pictures, decks, and video of what's happening, so people in LA can experience what we're doing at Digbeth. And there he is right there, Stephen Knight, the guy who was supposed to bring the Rey movie. I feel so bad for this poor guy. Apparently, he turned in draft after draft after draft, and the Fempire threw it back in his face and demanded rewrites. I guess Rey wasn't being strong or brave enough. He probably had her actually like going through a hero's journey or learning things and not just being a perfect little cinnamon roll that Kathleen Kennedy can envision as herself toppling all those terrible men who held her down for so many years in the film industry. Following this report, WWE Pro speculated during a video where he was talking to our friend Lorne Connor, who can always be seen on Tooney Talk TV every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Says Pro said he is wrapped up in opening studios. That is no small endeavor. And our understanding was that he was supposed to be working with the Rey movie, which Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy with Lucasfilm, and then that would be an ongoing process. It seems to us, Lorne, and again, we could be wrong here, but it seems to us that he is now going to be working on this Peaky Blinders thing. And that makes us wonder if either the Rey movie has been delayed such that he can work on this for years and years and come back to it later, or he's been removed and nobody knows it yet, which would not portend well for the Rey movie either. So that's where we're all being led to believe that perhaps the Rey movie has experienced even more hiccups. It's experienced full-on vomiting at this point. Lorne Connor, WW Pro's guest, shared his own opinion. I would say that it's part of the reason why Lucasfilm and Disney over the last few years have tried to get away from people with clout in the industry to be their showrunners, their producers, and things like that, because people that have that kind of influence can say no. He continued, so my guess is that rather than necessarily the production being halted, eventually it wouldn't surprise me if we got something that said, oh, there were just creative differences or there were conflicts because he's opening these studios. He's just too busy to do it right now. Lauren also added, I do think that it would be far too big of an embarrassment to make some kind of an announcement saying the Rey movie is canceled or even delayed. Oh, absolutely. That would be the most embarrassing thing for Kathleen Kennedy ever, not just because it's a canceled project. There have been canceled projects before. They're actually, the Acolyte's kind of the only canceled project. They don't ever actually announce that anything's canceled. It just kind of never happens so that she doesn't have to have egg on her face. But the Rey movie specifically, to have to say that's not coming out, that's going to leave so much egg on her face because Rey is her big, character, the big hope that she had for the studio, the centerpiece of Star Wars, the one that she stole Luke Skywalker's destiny from him and handed it to her while he was left drinking green milk and turning into an actual representation of grouchy old man Mark Hamill. So Long goes on to say, my suspicion is they will find lots of ways to creatively delay it because right now they're holding their breath and they're trying to figure out how do we get out of this hole that we've dug for ourselves. He then goes on to say, I think the Acolyte has absolutely rattled them, and that is very true. I don't think that you'd be seeing what we're seeing in the reactions in the fandom right now if they weren't absolutely rattled by what happened with the Acolyte. I think that was a shock even to Lucasfilm and Disney. I honestly... I hate to disagree with my friend Lauren here. I think they knew that it wasn't going to succeed, honestly. How could they not? How could they look at this Leslie Headland monstrosity that was put in front of our screens and be like, yeah, this is going to be it. This is going to be on par with George Lucas's Star Wars. How? There's no way. It was done purely just to drive agenda. Now, on top of the speculation, Jordan Rumi at World of Real also reported back in January that the film has been delayed indefinitely. He said, quote, I've been told that Disney has delayed the film indefinitely, which is why they surprised everyone last week and decided to announce The Mandalorian and Grogu as the next Star Wars movie. They just don't have confidence that New Jedi Order will be happening in the near future. As for the reason why, he shared the problem seemed to reside in creative differences between screenwriter Stephen Knight and Lucasfilm. I'm told that a draft had originally been written for the film, but Lucasfilm gave him so many notes that he had to start from scratch. That's what we were talking about before. Given this, he was hearing that Knight would exit the project. He explained his frustrations have grown. He's put Star Wars on the back burner and is now focused on the screenplay for his Peaky Blinders movie, which is supposed to go into production in the fall. That would make a lot of sense. Honestly, that would make a whole lot of sense. Also been rumblings that Lucasfilm might replace Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy. Jeff Snyder shared during an appearance on the Hot Mic show that Sean Levy, the director of Deadpool and Wolverine, could replace her. He said, I'm told that Sean Levy's project does have an element. I don't know if Rey is front and center in it, but Rey is a character in Sean Levy's movie. He elaborated now, is it Daisy Ridley's Rey or an older Rey? We heard those rumors back in the day, maybe about Helen Mirren being positioned as an older Rey. So I don't know in Sean Levy's movie if A, Rey is a lead character, or B, if Rey is Daisy Ridley age, or she could be someone in her 40s or 50s, or someone who's 70 or 80 like Helen Mirren. I don't know. Well, you know what, guys? Don't worry, because if we just keep delaying these projects enough and enough and enough, Daisy Ridley will be in her 40s, 50s, or 70s or 80s. So, just hang in there, guys. Just keep delaying. Just keep losing screenwriters. Eventually, we'll get there. So what do you guys think? Is this movie actually coming out? Will we ever actually see the Rey movie on the screen? Sound off in the comments and let me know. And as always, if there is an angle that I have not seen here, please let me know. I am not so rigid in my convictions that a well-reasoned argument can't sway me. So, let's have a conversation about it. Sound off in those comments. Let me know what you think. And another one bites the dust. This Rey movie is likely being thrown in the pile of the in-development stories that currently features Rian Johnson's trilogy, Benioff and Weiss's projects, Taika Waititi's movie, Kevin Feige's movie, Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie, and so on and so forth. These movies get announced when the Femperor needs an Attagirl in the media. She comes out to fanfare and says, this is what we're gonna do. The media then celebrates these announcements for a few weeks, and then they're never spoken of again. It's ludicrous and insulting to the fans, but that's to be expected from the most ludicrous and insulting studio in the history of filmmaking. I actually find the Fempire to be worse than even Warner Brothers, a company that has earned my undying loathing 100 times over, because the problem with WB can be summed up very simply. The studio is really, really dumb.
Fools! Idiots! Imbeciles!
But the Fempire isn't actually dumb. We might call them stupid, but I don't think stupidity ever factors into its questionable decisions. The Fempire is insidious. It knows what the result of its actions will be, but doubles down anyway in an ongoing campaign against the fans.
I defeated Scrooge McDuck!
We were on the same team!
The Fempire willfully tries to deceive you. The Fempire is the ultimate bait-and-switch studio. It is a plan, and no amount of failure will shake that, because the Fempire is driven by something terrifying. Conviction. The Fempire believes in its cause, and because of that, it's willing to burn billions of dollars of other people's money to spread its message.
And money!
That's the only conceivable explanation here, because they couldn't possibly launch a project like The Acolyte or this Rey movie and actually expect it to succeed. I refuse to believe that even Femperor Kennedy is stupid enough to believe that The Acolyte would push Disney Plus subscriptions or that people would pay money to go back into the theaters to see Rey for a fourth time.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
And yes, the sequel trilogy made money, that is true, but each subsequent film in said trilogy made less than the one before it. That's not how this is supposed to work.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind.
The Force Awakens was a juggernaut, pulling in over $2 billion. It's one of the highest grossing films of all time.
Everybody hands go up, and they stay there, and they stay there.
The Last Jedi then did $1.3 billion. Now, it's hard to point at a movie making $1 billion and call that a failure, but it's almost half of its predecessor's box office total. That's concerning. Then you had The Rise of Skywalker. That did $1.07 billion. Again, hard to call it a failure when you made $1 billion, but this was a time when just putting Star Wars on something was a license to print money. But between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, something happened that spooked Disney. Solo, a Star Wars story, actually lost money. The first Star Wars film ever to do so.
Olsen, help me up onto his casket so I can dance on it!
So while the sequel trilogy was a financial success, the diminishing returns and the first ever Star Wars bomb were enough to drive them away from theaters. And now, they can't get a movie made to save their lives. Will this Rey movie happen? Well, it depends on how long the Femperor remains in power. I'm certain that she wants it badly to cement her legacy, to cement the fact that she stole Luke's destiny and gave it to herself insert. Which, if you think about it, Luke Skywalker was named after George Lucas. Rey is a Kathleen Kennedy self-insert. So what does that really say about the way that she views Star Wars? Thanks for joining us today, and a special thanks goes out to our Tooneytown TV channel members. You guys keep the lights on around here, and for that, we thank you. We thank you with exclusive content like our True Crime podcast, Crime and Punishment, Kevin Apollo's Rants, and our weekly members-only live streams at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Friday. So if you're not a member of the Tooneytown TV channel yet, join today. And I hope you'll join us on Thursday nights for Tooney Talk TV live at 8 p.m. EST. It's our live stream pop culture podcast where you can make your voice heard as an important part of the Tooneytown community. If you liked what you saw here today, please like, share, and subscribe. Click that bell icon to get notified of new videos as they drop. From all of us here at the Tooneytown channels, I'm Marvin the Movie Monster. Now get out of here!